Doris Mary Ann Kappelhoff was born on April 3, 1922, in Cincinnati, Ohio. The youngest of three children in a working-class German-American family, she was drawn to music long before she could explain why. Her father, William Joseph Kappelhoff, was a music teacher and choir master with a stern approach to discipline. Her mother, Alma Sophia, on the other hand, encouraged creativity and held dreams for her daughter that stretched far beyond the confines of their Ohio home. Originally, Doris dreamed of dancing professionally. She and her partner, Jerry Daugherty, began training seriously, with aspirations of going to Hollywood. That dream came crashing down when a horrific car accident in 1937 shattered her right leg. The future she had envisioned vanished overnight. At just 15, Doris lay in a hospital bed wondering what would come next. During her long convalescence, she turned to the radio for solace. Singing along with popular tunes became both therapy and obsession. Her voice, pure and expressive, emerged as a gift even she hadn't fully recognized. Doris began taking singing lessons with vocal coach Grace Rain, who quickly recognized something remarkable in the teenager. Soon, Doris was performing locally on WLW radio under the name Doris Day, Day being inspired by the song Day After Day, which became her signature tune early on. By 1939, she had landed a spot with Barney Rapp's band. Her stage presence, while modest at first, was enhanced by a natural charm and precise intonation that made her instantly appealing. She later joined Bob Crosby's group, followed by a pivotal stint with Les Brown and his band of renown. It was with Brown that Doris began recording chart toppers, including the 1945 wartime anthem Sentimental Journey. The song became an emotional touchstone for returning American GIs, and Doris's voice, warm, clean, and tinged with yearning, seemed to capture the moment's fragile hope. Other hits followed. My Dreams Are Getting Better All the Time, Till the End of Time, and You Won't Be Satisfied Until You Break My Heart. Her popularity exploded. Audiences were drawn to her wholesome image, but the confidence she exuded on stage and in studio recordings masked the turbulence unfolding in her private life. Day's transition to the big screen came in 1948 with Romance on the High Seas, directed by Michael Curtis. Initially hired for her voice, she ended up stealing the show. The film's success led to a string of musicals and comedies, each reinforcing her status as America's sweetheart. She paired easily with actors like Jack Carson, Frank Sinatra, and Gordon MacRae. In the 1950s, her film career expanded beyond bubbly musicals. In Young at Heart, 1954, she played opposite Sinatra in a more dramatic role, but it was Alfred Hitchcock's The Man Who Knew Too Much, 1956, that gave her a more serious acting canvas. She portrayed a mother trapped in an international conspiracy, bringing emotional depth to the role. The film introduced Que sera, sera, whatever will be, a song that won an Academy Award and would forever be associated with her. Despite her mounting success, Doris was reluctant about fame. The constant studio demands wore on her, and she often resisted the more saccharine roles offered. Still, she took them, aware that her financial stability and that of her family depended on her continued marketability. Doris Day's image was crafted with care by her studios. Always smiling, immaculately dressed, and seemingly untouched by scandal, she became the embodiment of a post-war fantasy. But her private life told a different story. Her first marriage, to trombonist Al Jordan, ended in disaster. He was jealous, abusive, and controlling. Doris fled the marriage shortly after giving birth to their son, Terry Melcher. Her second husband, George Weidler, was distant and disapproving of her Hollywood career. That union also crumbled quickly. It was her third marriage, to agent Marty Melcher, that caused the deepest wounds. He managed her career aggressively, often making decisions without consulting her. When he died suddenly in 1968, Doris discovered that he had mismanaged her finances. leaving her millions in debt. Worse, she had unknowingly been signed to a television series, The Doris Day Show, that she never agreed to. Rather than crumble, Doris fulfilled the contract and carried the show for 5 seasons. Her performance was seamless, despite the pain of betrayal. She fought a legal battle against Melcher's business partner and eventually won a settlement of nearly $23 million, though only a fraction was recovered. Her son, Terry Melcher, became a record producer closely tied to the Los Angeles music scene of the 1960s. He produced hits for the Byrds and worked with the Beach Boys. His association with Charles Manson — he had declined to produce Manson's music — led to his house being targeted in the infamous 1969 Tate LaBianca murders. By sheer fate, Melcher had moved out of the house shortly before the massacre. The psychological shock reverberated through both their lives. Doris, already scarred by betrayal and loss, became more withdrawn. By the mid-1970s, Day walked away from acting and performing altogether. The glamour she had once represented now felt hollow. She turned her focus to animal welfare, founding the Doris Day Animal Foundation in 1978. Her activism wasn't performative. She lobbied for spaying and neutering programs, funded rescue efforts, and spoke passionately about animal rights long before it was popular. She moved to Carmel-by-the-Sea, California, where she lived in relative privacy. She rarely gave interviews, preferring instead to communicate through letters and occasional press releases. She published an autobiography in 1975 that offered glimpses of her real struggles: childhood trauma, broken relationships, deception, but refrained from bitterness. There was always a thread of grace in how she reflected on the past. In the 1980s and 1990s, nostalgia breathed new interest into Doris Day's catalog. Her recordings were reissued, and her films aired in retrospectives. Younger generations discovered her music through grandparents or curated playlists. But Day never returned to performing. Offers came, recordings, one-woman shows, even a Las Vegas residency, but she declined them all. Her later years were filled with dogs, long walks near the ocean, and letters from fans she never forgot. Occasionally she would surprise local diners or chat with a journalist by phone. Her voice remained bright, still carrying the lilt that had first charmed listeners during the war years. Despite her distance from the entertainment world, honors rolled in. She received the Presidential Medal of Freedom, Grammy Hall of Fame entries, and lifetime recognition from various film institutions. She never attended the ceremonies. Public adoration made her uncomfortable. Her son, Terry, died in 2004 after a battle with melanoma. Doris was devastated. They had been unusually close, and his death left her more isolated than ever. Yet she remained active in her foundation, organizing fundraisers and staying in touch with volunteers. As she aged, her world grew smaller. She stopped appearing in public entirely. Friends described her as kind, playful, and fiercely protective of her privacy. She had stopped singing decades earlier, yet would occasionally hum when the moment caught her. On May 13, 2019, Doris Day passed away in her Carmel home at the age of 97. There was no hospital vigil, no dramatic collapse, just a quiet departure from a woman who had spent much of her life shielding her true self from the world. She left no funeral instructions. In fact, she requested no memorial service, no grave marker. Her body was cremated, her ashes scattered. Fans mourned her in their own ways, by watching Calamity Jane, playing Secret Love, or donating to her animal charity. Her exit was entirely in character, graceful, understated, and final.